In this video, we will look at Stack Overflow developer survey results. Our 90,000 developers responded to the poll in 2023. This year's participants are 20,000 more developers than in 2022. Stack Overflow has been doing this survey for 13 years. This is the voice of the developer, answering questions on how they learn and advance their skills. Each year, Stack Overflow explores the tools and technologies developers are currently using and the ones they want to use in future. In this survey, they also included questions about AI tools. In this video section, we will talk about programming languages, databases, cloud platforms, web frameworks, other tools, IDE, or integrated development environment. First, let's see most popular technology. This year, they compared popular technologies across 3 different groups: our respondents, professional developers, and those data learning to code. Number 1, programming languages, programming, scripting, and markup languages. For the 11th year in a row, JavaScript will continue to be the most widely used programming language in 2023. Python has overtaken SQL as the third most commonly used language, but placing first for those who are not professional developers or learning to code. Professional developers of the top 3 technologies are the same as last year: JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and SQL. But it's a different picture for those learning to code. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are almost tied as the most popular languages for people learning to code. Student developers use Python more than SQL, while professionals use SQL more than Python. Compared to professional developers, those learning to code are more likely to report using Java, C++, and C#. These are top tech used by professionals. The first one is JavaScript, 65.8%. The second one is HTML, CSS with 52%. Third, we have SQL, and fourth is Python, about 45.3%. And C#, C++, and PHP are in the top 10 tech. But if we look at learning to code respondents, then Python is number 3 and SQL is at 4. But HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the same. While in other coders, Python is the number 1 programming language. According to professional developers, TypeScript is 43.7%, Bash shells are 32.7%. Java is still popular with 30%. According to this survey, Java is still the 4th important language. C#, C++, and PHP in the top 10 tech, but C is losing its popularity. Now let's talk about databases. This year, PostgreSQL replaced MySQL as the top databases. Professional developers are more likely to use PostgreSQL than those who are learning to code. Those who are learning to code are more likely to use MySQL. MongoDB is the second most popular database for people learning to code, behind MySQL. According to professional developers, top databases are PostgreSQL with 49.09% response. MySQL is second, SQLite is 30.17%, and fourth one is Microsoft SQL, and fifth one is MongoDB. Cloud platforms. If we talk about cloud platforms, Amazon Web Services or AWS remains the most used cloud platform for our responses. AWS is almost doubling the percentage of the second most used cloud platform for our respondents, Microsoft Azure. People learning to code are still using AWS. Interestingly, Heroku was the most used cloud platform last year by those learning to code, but it dropped to the number 5 this year. If we look at these stats, AWS is about 53% and Microsoft Azure is 27.8%. Google Cloud 24%, almost Firebase 15.3%, Cloudflare, DigitalOcean, and Heroku respectively. If we look at Heroku, that is only about 11.8%. And then we have Vercel, Netlify. Web frameworks and technology. Node.js and React.js are the most common web technologies used by our respondents. Professional developers use both fairly equally, and those learning to code use Node.js more than React. Next.js moved from 11th position in 2022 to 6th position this year by popularity with those learning to code. According to professional developers respondent, React and Node.js is almost equally 52%. jQuery is 22%, and then Angular and Express frameworks. But if we look at the learning to code respondents, Node.js is at top position with 42.5% responses. React.js is second one with 37% almost. Then Express, jQuery next. At sixth we have Django, Python backend framework to build websites. According to other coder respondents, most resources are the same as in the learning to code section. If we talk about other frameworks and libraries, Stack Overflow broke down .NET this year to be more precise, and .NET 5 Plus is once again at the top of the list for other frameworks and libraries. More people learning to code use Pandas and NumPy than .NET. This year, Stack Overflow also added a few additional alternatives. Covered that RabbitMQ is pretty well liked by professionals, 14%. Similar to last year, Python libraries continue to do well in the area among those beginning to code. OpenCV and OpenGL have risen to the top 10 list. Professional developers, top 5 other libraries of frameworks are .NET 27%, .NET Framework of 148 is almost 19%. Then we have NumPy, Pandas, and Spring Framework. If we talk about other tools, this year Docker is the top used tool amongst our respondents, rising from its second spot to first spot this year. Rising from its second spot, people learning to code are more likely to be using NPM, Node Package Manager, and then Docker. Both are used alongside languages that are popular with students like JavaScript and Python. So first we have 56.6% Docker, then NPM, pip, and Yarn. and a lot of others with a few percentages. IDE. Now let's talk about IDE, Integrated Development Environment. Visual Studio Code remains the preferred IDE across all developers and increasing its use from 75% to 81% this year among all developers. So first one is VS Code with 74%, and then we have Visual Studio 28%, and then we have IntelliJ IDEA and Notepad, Vim, Android Studio, PyCharm, Sublime Text, Jupyter Notebook, WebStorm, PHP Storm, Rider, and a lot of others.